The lines are muted so that we have a clean recording. If you have questions, use the chat mode on the right-hand side of your screen. And Kim, let's go to the next slide. So the series, I just want to talk a minute about the series, and I see many of you have been on before, is all about how to make data work for you using the VESTA Analytics solution. And what we want to do is show you that it's really easier than you think, and also the power of being able to have the right data at the right time at your fingertips. And we want you to walk away from this series, from each one, saying, you mean VESTA Analytics can do that? And I can automate this? And I can have this data for this really important meeting or for this knowledge about an employee. So our goal is to make sure you understand the VESTA Analytics solution and how powerful it can be for you. I want to introduce our speakers. Kim Siepert is the product line manager for Airbus DS Communication, and she is going to be doing this presentation with Chris Lafont, who is our technical support analyst, really smart, really knows this product inside and out. So I think let's go to the next slide. And Kim, I think on this next slide, I am turning it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Flynn. Again, I want to thank each one of you for joining us for the 4th VESTA Analytics webinar. In this session, we will walk through how to configure your VESTA Analytics so that it fits your specific needs, whether you have one PSAP or multiples to manage. For example, if you forget your password, we'll show you how to reset it by using your Forgot Password link on the login page. As in previous webinars, I will play a PSAP manager looking for assistance while Chris navigates us through the Analytics System Management options. As within our last webinars, we will take your questions at the end of the session. So please, as Flynn mentioned, use your chat mode to send us your questions as you come up with them, please. So let's get started with the the global LI formatter. So hi, Chris. Thanks for joining us today. I've heard that the App Manager has tools that we can take advantage of to improve how we use and access analytics front end. Can you guide me through the App Manager and explain how to use these tools?
You're right, Kim. App Manager has tools that allow you to manage user access to the database, configuration tools that help you improve the user experience, and other tools that help technicians troubleshoot and maintain the system.
Great. I want to know how to use the App Manager to properly configure my analytics. Can you tell me about the global LI formatter and what it's used for?
Absolutely, but I'll call it by its nickname, Glyph. First, let's go to the Universal menu in the App Manager. That's where we find the Glyph. Glyph allows us to parse information from the ALI that we receive in call records so that we can use this data in the front end. With this data, we can do trend analysis based on location information like ESN, classes of service, service providers, etc. This is also how we identify a call as either VoIP or wireless or wireline. The first screen we land on here allows us to define the row length, which is normally 32 characters. And it also would show us a sample ALI if we had saved one, so I think we need to go to the next screen. Here is where we would save a sample ALI, either by pulling it from the database or pasting it from our clipboard. Once it's saved, we can use this for parsing rules. We can save several sample ALIs so that we can make sure we're not neglecting fields that may only be in the wireless or wireline ALIs. And then this next screen allows us to select the fields we want to parse. We see a lot of fields here to choose from, but typically there are only a handful of fields that we'd actually want to parse. Once our selections are saved, we can move to the next screen. Here is where we will actually define the parsing values. For example, if I want to fix the row, column, and length for the calling party number based on the sample alley, all I have to do is highlight the phone number in the sample alley and drag it to the edit field for one of the CPN on the right. The numbers will automatically adjust to the location that the data was dragged from. You just repeat those steps for each of the fields that you selected, and then you save your work and proceed to the next screen. Here, you may want to define a few wireless keywords if they aren't already listed, and confirm the row, column, and length.
So what should I do to put in the voice over IP in here?
Good question. No, you don't want to put the VoIP in here. VoIP is automatically recognized as a separate call service by analytics, but if you add that keyword, you would actually override that built-in logic, and actually you would count your VoIP as wireless. This is something that tech support can sort out, but it's better not to do it in the first place.
Oh, well, that's good to know. So what's next?
The review location information screen, it doesn't have any configurations. It just overlays the defined fields on the sample alley so that you can make sure that there aren't any things that you need to adjust. And finally, we can deploy the configurations, and it takes effect immediately.
Okay, so what happens if I change the alley providers or they change the alley format coming in to the system?
No problem. You can just come back to the glyph and go through this process again with the new sample alley. And don't forget to deploy your changes. But if some calls were not parsed correctly during the transition time, there is a utility tech support can assist with to reparse that alley with the updated rules.
Okay, so let's dive into the product security. So Chris, can you show me how to use the product security within the App Manager?
Sure. Also under the universal menu, product security allows you to limit the user's scope of the data. So in a multi-site hosted system, when users access analytics, they will automatically view and report on their own PSAP's data rather than wading through all the other agencies' data. Plus, you can limit users' access to certain pages and features within analytics. Let me show you how. So on this screen here, you can add the users that are domain accounts. You can also add groups on the next screen to add security to, but we normally find that you prefer to just use the users. And then on the next screen, permissions. Once you add an account, you can come here and assign a role which carries a set of built-in permissions. These roles are detailed in the online help button if you see that up in the right corner. You can also grant and deny specific permissions in the role assignment if it's not exactly what permissions you want to give that user. Usually you'll find that the roles are just quite enough. Once this is finished, the users you have added will be able to access analytics with a specific type of access that you provided.
Okay, well thank you, Chris. So let's dive into further into the App Manager. And let me know what the App Manager has for me to improve my user experience. What other things?
Well, let's take a look at the App Manager under the Analytics menu. There are two sections where you can improve the user environment: Configuration Data Management, which we say CDM for short, and Site Management. Let me show you a few of the tabs in the CDM and tell you how to use them. On the Agents tab, you can change how agents are identified on the front end and in reports. So for example, in this screen, we see generic IDs like Agent 1001, but we can change the name and use the individual's real name or any other naming convention that you want. Then you can run agent reports and see their names rather than those generic IDs. It's really the same on the next tab here for consoles and also for the lines and the transfer and conference targets as well. Basically, the CDM gives you a place to improve how these elements are labeled in the front end. This can make the data much more comprehensive.
God, it looks like I have a lot of work to do.
Well, maybe not. VESTA 911 provides most of this information automatically, so I recommend taking a reactive approach. If you go to the CDM and try to proactively modify all these items you find, you'll probably be doing a lot of unnecessary work.
But I can tell some of that information is wrong. Shouldn't I just fix it?
Sometimes you find items under the hood that just don't look right. But if analytics is getting you where you need to go, then you probably best don't want to change what's under the hood. But if something is coming out on the front end with the wrong label, then you should pop the hood and just fix that item. Make sense?
Yeah, it actually does. I certainly don't want to mess up the database.
Well, don't worry about that. Fortunately, you can't do much more than mix up the labels. It won't let you do any serious damage. Let me tell you about the site management page. The site management page allows you to change the label for a site. So maybe you want TPD instead of Temecula Police Department to show up. You can also upload a custom logo for your agency, like your agency seal, to appear on the reports.
I like that. I know a few people who will be happy to have the extra touch on their reports. So what else can I do in the App Manager?
Let's check out the archiver. The archive page provides a utility that you can use to archive your call data. This is important as ongoing maintenance. When you archive the older data, you keep the server running in its optimal performance. And you can always reattach an archive if you need to dig up an old call or run on some old data reports. You can decide on your retention period, but we recommend keeping at most 3 to 5 years of history in the live database.
So does that mean that if I keep only a year or two of data, then my reports will be faster?
Basically, that's right. I think 2 years is a good retention period, so you can conveniently compare counts from year to year. But you're certainly able to archive more. And like I said, all you need to do is attach more of those, or one or more of those archives if you want to report on that data. Are you ready to hear about the other pages?
Sure. Oh, okay. So I see the enterprise data collection. That sounds very intimidating.
I guess it does a little. But once this feature is configured, you'll probably never need to look at those pages again. This section of the App Manager is where the enterprise data collection is configured and scheduled. That is, if you're part of an enterprise. Also, there are tools for checking the batch activity in case a technician needs to check functionality.
Oh, that's a relief. So if I think the server is having trouble, can my tech use this App Manager to diagnose the problem?
They can certainly get some very useful information here. For example, the service management page. On this page, we can see the status of the analytics backend data processing services. Plus, we can see details of what some of those services are doing. And we can use the control buttons to stop and start services, which is a normal part of troubleshooting.
God, that's a lot.
I know, it's a rare breed to get excited about service control buttons. Let's go to the license management page. On the license management page, here's another page that you may never have to look at, but this is where you can see what type of analytic system this is and what fee-based features are enabled. Also, this is where we would add or renew licenses.
So what happens when my license expires?
Many people ask that, so I'm glad you did. At the time of installation, licenses turn on features and determine what services are installed. But when they expire, there is no impact on functionality. Instead, it serves as a reminder that it may be time for a support renewal. So the service will put a message in its log file and about the licenses. But other than that, they just keep working as they've always done.
So I guess that just leaves us with the system management page.
Correct. And this page is a useful reference for technicians. It is totally configured by the install wizard at the time of installation. There are a few settings that can be adjusted just in case an IP address changes or somebody fat-fingered during the install. But once again, you probably won't be visiting this page much. And now that's all of the App Manager.
Okay, well, thanks again, Chris. So some of the key takeaways for this webinar include the App Manager providing tools for you to take advantage of improving how to use and access analytics front end. Also remember, archiving is very important for ongoing maintenance to keep the server running at its optimal performance. Lastly, use the license management page within the App Manager to look up what type of license you may have access to or what fee-based features are enabled, such as advanced reporting or the dashboard module, and which we'll be showcasing in our next webinar in October. So for now, I'm going to hand it back over to Flynn for questions and answers. But before I do, I wanted to again thank everyone for your attendance today and remind you that our next webinar will be covering the dashboard overview, where we will show you how to build custom pages with key performance indicators, activity thresholds that's set for your site. For example, you can now add advanced formatting to email messages and to include image attachments within the body for email using our built-in editor toolbar. Again, be sure to sign up for our next webinar. You sure will not want to miss it. So back over to you, Flynn.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Chris. So this is now when we turn it over to you, our audience, to see what questions you have. I've been checking the Q&A and chat. And Wanda, will you help me? I don't see any, but I could have missed some that may have been coming in. So questions for all of you. Any questions that you have? One comment I have, Chris and Kim, it looks like with the App Manager, it is a matter of simply following the screens. The screens look pretty self-explanatory. Chris, is that a fair assumption, or am I making it too simple?
I think that was a design intent, of course. Yeah, we did not want to make that confusing at all.
Mm-hmm. Because I think even I could have done this, which is saying a lot. Questions? Wanda, did you see any questions coming in? Here is a question about the VESTA web page. Does that ring a bell, Chris or Kim, what that would mean, the VESTA web page? Oh, I know. Here's the question. Where can I get more information on the all of the webinars that Kim referred to that we've done? And in just a minute, we're going to show you, oh, there it is, the page right on our home page where there you see 3 boxes, and the third box is the VESTA Analytics, and when you click on that, it gives you all of the webinars that we've done, the 4 of the 5 in the series, and you get the recording and an explanation about each one. So it makes it very handy for you. And as Kim said, the next one is October 12th, and what Wanda will do when we finish the session today is you will get an email with a link to the recording, and then you will also get the invitation for the one on October 12th. So we'll make it very easy. And the recording you can just easily download and share with other members of your team. So I'm going to say going, gone on questions unless, I'm going to give it one more look. Yes, Brenda, sorry Brenda, I didn't get all of your questions. That was the question. When will the rest of the webinars be available on the VESTA webpage? October 10 will be our last one. We've been doing these now since we started in the spring, and like I said earlier, it's just been fantastic. And all of you have been so great with your feedback. Any other questions? Okay, I have one more thing I wanted to share with you on the next slide, and that is we're going to be at APCO. I know some of you on the call today will also be there, so please come by our booth, 1601, and we're going to be doing some really great presentations in our Innovation Theater, which we have in our booth, where we will be providing information on some of our new products And at our demo pods, we will also have VESTA Analytics demonstrations going on. So for those of you who've been attending the webinars and want to learn more about exactly how the functionality works that Chris and Kim have been talking about, please stop by the booth and we'd love to give you a demonstration. Kim or Chris, any other comments?
I have nothing. Again, just thanks everyone for attending. And if you do have any follow-up questions, I think in the email that Wanda sends out with the recording will include my email address and contact information, so you can always contact me directly for any follow-up questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Thank you, Chris. You guys always do such a great job. We appreciate it, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of the day.